Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to week 3 of the Horror Coast to Coast Spooktober Watchathon. Chained up in a Massachusetts basement, I'm Brian.
And chained up in a Sonoma County basement, ready to bite the hand that tries to rescue me, I'm Michelle.
This week we're reviewing 3 movies, and the first is Slumber Party Massacre from 1982.
With her parents out of town, high school senior Trish decides to throw a slumber party. But things go downhill when an escaped killer wielding a power drill is loose in the neighborhood.
In typical 80s slasher tradition, we get boobs in like the first minute of the movie.
Yeah.
I thought that this had something to do with Trisha's 18th birthday, but I think I just made that assumption because she's like throwing out her Barbies and she mentions that she's 18 like several times.
Yeah, even though she basically looks the same age as her mom and the neighbor. But yeah, her parents are like going out of town, and so she's dumping her old toys and
Yeah, so it's really kind of creepy the way they start off with Trish being naked, and also she's like, I'm an adult now. I'm throwing out my Barbies. I'm 18 years old and I'm going to have an adult sleepover party.
yeah, we definitely start with immediate nudity, and we get our little news broadcast of the escaped murderer.
We get like 3 different scenes of the news report that this guy, Russ Thorne, has escaped from jail, and they always just turn it off. It's like, uninteresting. It's so funny.
Yeah, then I think after this, we cut to the high school.
Yeah, so we get to the high school where we meet all of our protagonists who are this high school's basketball team.
And at this point, we don't know who's who because it's just a whole bunch of girls that all look the same playing a sport together.
Yeah, so let's get into my biggest issue, which is I could not keep these girls apart for the life of me.
Yeah.
There's like, I'm on like the 3rd death, and each time I'm thinking it's one of the 2 main girls that died, and it's not. There's like 6 just 18-year-old brunette girls, and that's like our cast.
Right.
Well, we're introduced to the characters in the locker room. Like, this is when we get their names and like their personalities, and we're basically only seeing their asses. So it's confusing enough that they're all like 18-year-old white brunette girls with the same build, but also you're not even gonna show us the faces when you introduce them. It's insane. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to know who these girls are?
Yeah.
And even though we're staring at their asses, the conversation they're having is about setting up the titular slumber party.
Right, right.
They're basically getting the girls back together.
Yeah, because they've been like friends for a long time, and I guess this is maybe it's like it actually felt like it was kind of senior year, and this is like the last time they're gonna get to hang out together in their high school friend group. So they are, I guess, trying to recreate memories and trying to recreate old times. And to that point, one of them is asking if boys are allowed, and Trish is like, no, there are no boys allowed. This is like really a throwback to when we used to do this all the time. Like this is a classic traditional slumber party that we used to have with each other, and that's what we want to recreate.
Yeah, but we do get introduced to some boy characters, and there are a couple of high schoolers outside, and they start talking up this phone repair girl. And even though everyone in the scene looks like they're the exact same age, they're asking her if she would date a younger guy, like
Yeah.
what, like half a year younger or
Yeah,
something?
he's I don't remember which one. There's 2 of them. It's Jeff and Neil, and they just seem like they're creeping on a random high school girl who's hanging out outside, and you don't realize that she's like a utility worker until like maybe another 30 seconds into the scene, which makes it very confusing because she looks super young, and you're like, he's just hitting on some girl who's clearly out of his league. No, he's hitting on an adult. Or maybe like maybe the actress is a similar age, but in the movie he's supposed to be hitting on an adult, which is kind of wild. But yeah, it is a little bit crazy. And then not 40 seconds after they walk away from her as she gently rebuffs them, do we see her get grabbed.
Yeah, so she's going back to her van, and then she gets pulled into it, and then we get the first kill of the movie. And they're like, I don't even know if they're back in the school yet, or if they're like still. Are they even? They might even be in shot, but she's screaming and getting murdered just in broad daylight.
Yeah, they're in the shot. They're walking away, and the shot is her, like, bloodied up, banging on the back of the van, which feels like how did he snap is her van, soundproof? Like, what
Yeah,
utility worker rides in a soundproof van? I feel like if someone is in the back of a van, like, banging on the windows and screaming, if you were walking away, you were within earshot, you should be like, "What was that?" and turn around, but they are in their own fucking world, and they do not turn around. And this poor girl who really was just in the wrong place at the wrong time
yeah,
is murdered in broad fucking daylight, which is so crazy because it's like not just daytime, the brightest, sunniest, bluest sky,
yeah,
and this maniac snags her up in the middle of the day and just drills her. Well, I mean, kills her with a drill. Poor choice of words. At this point, I can't tell if it's supposed to be a serious comment or just like satire, or this is just the product of 80s horror, because I just found it ridiculous that one, he's killing people with a drill, and two, the first person he kills in the middle of the day, and he kills in the middle of like what could be a crowded area because it's school's still in. Those girls are still in the locker room
yeah.
taking showers. The basketball game is probably just let out. I mean, who the hell knows? It just felt very conspicuous, I guess. And then he does this for the purpose of taking her van. So now he's a serial killer with a drill and a van.
And then we go back to the locker room, and Trisha's friend Diane is like talking shit about Valerie because Trish is open to inviting her to the party. And Diane's like, no way. She's like stuck up and a teacher's pet.
Yeah.
So yeah, Diane's bitter as fuck.
I, yeah. But then she explains it, and I think that makes it worse. She basically is like, she's a stranger. I don't know her. I don't like her.
Yeah.
And Trish is like, yeah, but she's also my neighbor. So I can't be that like shady with her. I want to invite her because why not? And
Yeah.
Valerie is having none of it. She's like, "Fuck you guys, no thanks." And Trish realizes,
Yeah. It's like
you
she
know,
heard
as she hears
us.
them.
I mean, she was right there, like separated by one like line of
Yeah,
lockers.
and
Of
they're
course, she
like,
fucking heard
"Oh
him.
wow."
Like, you're on the same team, you didn't know she's in the locker room? Like, what?
Yeah.
At least check if the locker room's clear before you start talking mad shit, jeez.
Okay, so at this point we have like this setup. We know the girls are all going to be at the house. We know that the first kill was a woman also. And at this point I think I started thinking about how this movie starts with like a streak of misogyny from the shower scene, from the guys like openly flirting, from that girl who's just like slaughtered in the middle of the day. And so I was thinking about like women as objects and how there is this obsession with destroying womanhood as soon as they aren't little girls anymore. Which is fucked up because I have to wonder like it may be at the time the movie was made. Is this a reflection of the director's bias? Is it a reflection? Is it comment on how the real world was at the time? Maybe still. And as people who are watching this, is it clear enough that we can see it? Do we appreciate this perspective, or are we okay? I mean, for me, I feel like this kind of is the precursor to the creation of the final girl trope, because you have all of these women, one of them is going to survive, and that's maybe it's not the precursor because we had Halloween before this, and we probably had one or two other things.
Yeah, I feel like it's playing off of the final girl trope, but I mean, in this movie, it would have already been established, but instead of just having the one final girl, who I assume would probably be Valerie, we really get three of them. So it actually put a little bit more respect on them, saying, like, you're not
Right.
all disposable. It kind of like shows that there is value enough to keep three of them alive.
Okay, and in terms of how is sort of commenting on the way womanhood is is portrayed, I guess, in all slashers, really?
Yeah, at least most of them.
Yeah, is this something that you think resonates with a person watching this movie? Because we watched this with our group, with our friend group, and someone said that the killer is like revealed right away. And I actually disagree with that because I think he's obscured. He's obscured in darkness. He's a dark male perpetrator who's violent, and there's nothing to him other than he's just violent masculinity, right? Represented very aptly by a drill.
Yes.
So,
And the Canadian
yeah.
tuxedo.
Yes, and the jean the jean
Just like
jacket.
Twin Peaks,
I
Canadian
just
tuxedos are the embodiment of misogyny and evil. Don't trust anyone who wears denim on denim.
Yeah, I won't. I don't think I think I never did. Anyway, okay, so after we are introduced to the characters and we're given their story and what their plans are for the night, they've all cleaned up and they're excited to go home and get ready. And one girl decides that she's got to go back and she's got to get a book or something. And for some reason, our murderer has not yet left the school. He is still chilling in the van in front of the school with the utility worker's body in his van.
Yeah, I imagine he was probably waiting for the last high school girl to leave.
Yeah, probably.
So we get Linda, she goes to leave with the book she forgot and the door is locked.
Yeah.
She's locked in the school with the killer. And she gets like wounded and she's hiding from him, but she's bleeding profusely so much that it seeps under the door and sells her out. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah. Really bad, and I really thought she was going to survive that.
I did too because she was being resourceful and it just seemed like yeah, I thought I thought she was a more important character than she was because all these girls look the same. And B, she just seemed smart and resourceful and I thought she was going to outsmart him.
I did too. Especially when she realizes her blood is seeping under the door. I didn't understand why she didn't, like, get up and run if she saw that and saw him standing there.
Well, cuz he would hear it.
But then she started, like, sopping up her blood in not a quiet way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's really nothing she could have done, and that's all we were supposed to get out of that. Okay, so then we cut to the party starting, and I wrote, like, how are all of these high school girls just home alone? It starts out establishing that Trisha's parents are gone, and you expect all of the girls to be like, "Okay, bye, mom, bye, dad, I'm going to Trisha's house." It's not that
But
at
yeah, so
all.
there's this guy whose like job it is to check up on them apparently. Is he a neighbor?
Yes, Mr. Content lives next door.
And then this guy's out, like, when it's night, he's hunting snails.
Yeah, I really didn't understand that. The girl who catches him, I think it's Diane, she mentioned that, "Oh, my dad does that," or whatever. "My grandfather does that." I don't know. It seems like it was supposed to be a normal thing, so I didn't think too much on it. But I did find Mr. Content an incredibly creepy and weird person.
This movie is just trolling the whole
You
time.
think?
Because there's all these weird little things. And I think this is the first one, which is just like treating snail hunting like it's a thing.
Maybe.
There's a couple others. There's a glass coffee decanter that they heat up on the stove instead of in the
Oh,
coffee maker.
yeah. Yeah, and then it breaks, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I left the stove on."
There's also the part where the pizza man dies and they decide to eat the pizza, which okay, whatever, that's kind of weird. And they eat it on top of his corpse.
So gross. And it's their friend Jackie that does that. She's like, "What? I'm hungry."
Yeah, it's like, okay, you can eat the pizza. That's a little weird. You don't have to eat it on top of the eyeless pizza man's corpse.
Yeah,
That's the line. You cross the line there.
I didn't understand that. That was crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, basically they get attacked and they're all just like sitting there with knives in a circle and the boys are going to take care of it.
Yeah.
So the two boys, Jeff and Neil, go out and just get
I
murdered.
really love that the guys sneak over and they're basically just trying to catch these girls doing whatever girls are supposed to do at slumber parties. And the best part is that what they're doing is like a mockery of what people think they'd be doing. No, girls do not stand around and just get naked in front of each other and change into their pajamas and have casual conversations. It doesn't happen, especially since when you're 16, 17, 18, you're not that confident in your body, not the way these girls were, which, by the way, I looked it up. Every single woman in this movie was 26, with the exception of Valerie, who was only 20. Every other woman in this movie was like 26. Linda at the beginning was 27. So it makes sense that you have actors who are in that age group. And 26 is young, but it's not high school young. And it was very apparent that the women in these roles were comfortable with their bodies and comfortable enough to have casual conversation and just get naked and have conversations with each other. And like I said, I think it's a parody because it's what high school boys think girls would do at slumber parties.
Why does Valerie come over? I forget
I
why.
believe it's because her sister goes over. Because her sister is like, "I wanna see what's happening. I wanna see what's happening." And they have this moment where she does her sister's hair and she, like, puts makeup on her, and she's like, "Let's go see
Yeah.
what they're doing." And she's like, "You just want them to see your new hairdo, whatever." And so finally, the sister, who looks 18, playing a 12-year-old, goes over on her own. Then Valerie is like, "Ah, crap. Now I have to go find my sister." So I think that's why she goes over.
No, okay.
Valerie, yeah, she lives next door with her little sister. She's invited to go to the party, but she doesn't go because she overhears Diane talking shit about her. And then they sit in their houses and they hear random noises and they hear clattering that's unexplained. They hear people banging out of the garage. And Valerie's just like, don't care, not my problem. Also, did you catch Sylvester Stallone on the cover of Playgirl?
I didn't notice it was Sylvester
Yeah,
Stallone.
the sister sneaks a magazine, I think Valet's room, and when she goes to open it, it's Sylvester Stallone on the cover. Very funny. Also, when the boys sneak over to spy on them, the dialogue that I wrote down is, "You know how girls love to scream." Because they're like, "Oh, we should just scare them." And they're like, We shouldn't scare them." And he's like, "Why not? You know how girls love to scream." And he says, "What's the worst that could happen?" And the other one says, "Well, they could beat the shit out of us." Which I thought was so great because it's like, of course they could. These, like, 6 or 7 girls on the basketball team, clearly athletic.
Yeah. But, yeah, Valerie and her little sister get there, and there's just, like, a pile of bodies, essentially. Everyone but I think there's, like, 2 girls left when they get there.
Yes, it's, so
Everyone else is dead,
Trish and Kim, I believe, and they run
and then Kim
upstairs, and then
dies.
Kim dies, yeah.
So, basically, at the end, it's just Trish, Valerie, and her sister Courtney. They just take turns beating the shit out of Russ. He gets the upper hand at one point, but then Valerie found a machete in the basement. She proceeds to like cut his hand off and he like falls into the pool. And then he gets out of the pool and they just like beat the shit out of him and kill him.
Yeah, and there's also the funny part where she's in the basement and she finds a circular saw and runs all the way upstairs with it until the extension cord stops her from going to the top of the stairs. And she's like, "Oh, shit." And I was like, "Why would you get something with a cord?" But, I mean, I think it's funny because he's got a drill, and so she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll get a saw." Saw trumps drill, doesn't it? Oh, and right at the end where he is standing over the 3 girls, actually, I think he's standing over Valerie, Trish, and her sister, and when he gets the upper hand, there's a minute where there's, like, a shot where he stands up and the drill hangs between his fucking legs. And you're like, "Oh my god, this is way too symbolic. I can't even." And then he picks it up and Trish snaps the shit out of it. And I was like, "No, she definitely did
No,
not just
Valerie
was it Valerie?
Valerie cuts the tip off with her machete, which A,
Never
that can't
happened. That
happen.
can't happen."
You you can't do that. But it's very funny symbolically, just like clearly he's emasculated.
Yeah.
It's over for him. The only weapon he's used this whole movie has been defeated and he's no longer a man.
Yeah. He's no longer a man because he got beaten by women. How's that for second-rate
He
feminism?
also talks for the first time in like this very last scene of the movie. And this whole time, Russ has been the most just a guy slasher ever. And then you hear him talk and he's even lamer than he seemed initially.
Oh, it's so awful, especially because he's like, "But I love you." And you're like, "Wait,
Oh
what?
yeah.
What? Stop." And he's like, "But I love you. I need to show you that I love you." And you're like, "Oh god, not only are you a psychopath, you're a gaslighting psychopath."
Yeah. And no loser.
A loser who got his drill dick cut off by a machete.
Yeah.
Anyway, I struggled to I struggled to rate this just because I went back and forth by with how sleazy it was at times, but then also I could see all the commentary and I could see what the point of it was. I still think it's problematic. I still think it's almost like how sometimes conservatives find Stephen Colbert funny because they don't realize he's mocking conservatives. Well, I think something similar is happening with this movie where it's mocking women being objectified and violence being committed against women's bodies and showing women having the upper hand, but at the same time, I don't know if it's self-actualized enough to be making fun of it to the degree that I think that kind of subject matter warrants. I don't know. I just I had a hard time reconciling how sleazy it was with the fact that this is supposed to be a feminism debate.
Yeah, so I liked that it seemed very self-aware and it was very like tongue in cheek all over, just like little moments all throughout the film were like so tongue in cheek. And I'm pretty sure that I don't know what you know about Roger Corman, but I'm pretty sure he was like involved with the financing of this film and he has rules about like you need to show this much tits
What?
in all his movies. He's like,
What?
yeah, he was basically the sleaze bag of this era in horror. So I feel
What?
like we've got a feminist writer and a feminist director, and then the biggest sleaze bag bankrolling it. And
Okay,
that's why you get this weird tonal whiplash where it's like objectifying, but also like tongue
catering
in
to
cheek
it.
and also a little empowering.
Okay. Okay, so you had the opposite impression that I did, but you also knew this little tidbit about it that I didn't because I was very confused and you're right, like tonal whiplash is exactly the way I would put it because yeah, it's like tongue in cheek. I didn't think it was as self-aware until you just said that. And now I'm thinking, okay, maybe this was a creative choice to cater to the person who is bankrolling this movie, but at the same time, let's do it in a way that's smart and almost making fun of it. Even though we're giving you the skin, we're giving you the sex, imagine sex you think you're having, but we're doing it in a way that's making sure your drill dick gets cut off too. All right. I like that perspective. And I feel a little less skeeved out by it. Now that I know that. Okay, so what did you think for rating?
I give it a 3.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I think I'm giving it a 3. I wonder what other people are going to say about it. And I wonder if anyone else will realize what you just told me because I didn't know that. And if you go into it just looking at a horror movie and not thinking that there may be something else going on, how it comes across. I mean, I know that if I was looking at this as a horror movie without thinking about any of the deeper messages, I would be like, it's a 2. So I'm curious to see what everyone else would say.
I was also getting like proto Scream vibes with just how like
Yes.
tongue in cheek and sarcastic it was. It feels like this was laying down the groundwork for movies like Scream to come
That is
later.
so funny because I didn't write that down, but 100%, especially all that stuff in the garage.
Yeah. And also Scream 2, a certain character gets pulled into a van and murdered.
Oh, yeah.
That
Okay.
might have been a nod to the first kill of this
Okay.
movie.
That's very cool. I should have been a little bit more present in terms of thinking of this as a precursor to other films because I really just sort of thought this was a no-name horror movie that really didn't get any attention after it was made.
Well, are you aware of this film's
No, not at
legacy?
all.
It's got like 4 or 5
Wait,
sequels.
what?
There's a spin-off series called Sorority House Massacre, and another spin-off, I think it's called, like, Cheerleader
Oh
Massacre.
my god. Okay, our next movie, Speak No Evil, in 2024. Um, this is from Blumhouse Productions, and I had quite the thoughts about it. A dream holiday morphs into a horrific ordeal for an American family as their idyllic weekend British country estate spirals into a terrifying living nightmare. And so I'll say before we go into this that this is a remake of a Danish movie, I believe that was made in 2022.
Yep.
And I don't believe that that movie was based on anything other than its original screenplay. I don't think it was a book or anything like that. This is just a remake that happened to be 2 years ago. All right, so let's go through the plot on this one.
So while vacation in Italy, our protagonists, Louise and Ben Dalton, and their preteen daughter, Agnes, meet a couple named Patty and Sierra and their mute son,
Right.
Ant.
It's kind of established through a couple of interactions that Ben and Louise, their marriage is like kind of on the rocks. And then Agnes has some sort of anxiety with an unknown source behind it. There's no real reason given for why she has anxiety. And she copes with this stuffed bunny named, I forget.
Hoppy.
Hoppy. Okay. Okay. So they meet this couple and immediately they're taken with them because they had been stuck in a boring conversation with this other Danish couple. And they were like, okay, hang out with us instead. So they drink and they have fun and they laugh and they have jokes. And Patty and Kira are very charismatic. They're very like friendly in theory. Like, I feel like there's a very
Yes.
obvious thing happening here where normal people see them as pushy and kind of sketchy, but in the movie, the couple that the protagonists perceive them as charming and fun immediately.
This resonated with me a lot because I've had the experience so many times where I've met people like Patty and Sierra, and everyone else is going along with it. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, are we throwing in with these
Yeah,
guys? We not leaving?
yeah.
Except the only people keeping them there is themselves.
Exactly. And I think what's also happening is that Ben has this pathological mistrust of his wife's judgment.
Yeah.
And so when she says something's wrong, he, in his infinite manly wisdom, will say, "Quiet woman, you don't know what you're talking about." Except he wouldn't even say it that way because he's absolutely spineless, right? He just doesn't want to be rude, which is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I can go into a big old rant about this subject. Anyway, let's keep going because it's crazy, right? So they meet this couple and they're like, "This was so fun. We loved you. This was great. You really must come visit the farm." Like, what in the fucking cult is that? No,
Yeah.
okay, okay, great, thanks, bye. I would never see these people ever again. And I think the majority of us would never see these people ever again.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
when you get a postcard that says, "You really must come visit the farm," I'm thinking, how the fuck did you get my home address?
But not Ben. He's gonna bring his family to this random stranger's
Yep.
farm, and they're gonna stay there for an indefinite amount of time,
Yep, and
apparently.
after Patty says, "Oh, that's Ant. He can't talk because he has some condition that, like, resulted in his tongue not growing well enough, so he's unable to communicate." But if you paid any amount of attention to this kid, he's clearly miserable. Something's going on with him, and it's not lack of speech. And also, lack of speech doesn't make him dumb. It just means he didn't develop the ability to speak. So the fact that they treat him like he's stupid because because Patty and Kira, it basically insists that he's stupid is so beyond me. Like, I was like, I don't get it. He didn't say the kid had a learning disability. He said the kid had a language disability, which means he has been listening to language his whole life. Maybe he can't speak, but he can definitely communicate. I don't know. I found that to be crazy. And they just, any little excuse they were given, they just went along with it. They wanted to believe it, and so they did.
Yeah. Yeah, so they show up. Patty and Sierra are just being weird. They're being weird to their son. They're being weird to them. So Louise is a vegetarian, and what is it he make? He makes her eat some kind of meat. Is it like heart or something?
He makes her eat a goose. But the thing that makes her feel like she has to eat it is because he gives her this elaborate story about how she was their prized goose and he knew that they were coming and they wanted to present them with something special. And so the prize goose had to be the sacrificial goose for their visit. And so he essentially makes her feel like, I did this for you. This animal was killed because I wanted to entertain you, and so now you have to eat it because I killed it for you. And she just instead of being like, I don't know why the fuck you killed it. I told you Ben had told you in Italy that I was a vegetarian, so sucks for you goose, but that's on you. She never does. She's just like, "Oh, okay, I guess so."
Yeah, and they're also, like, at dinner, and, Sierra goes under the table and pretends to, blow Patty.
And that was one of the parts of the movie that I found so painfully awkward because it kept panning over to shots of Ben and Louise and their reaction. And I one of the things that I thought was so masterfully done by James McAvoy is he was very good at portraying this malevolent character was who was just doing everything to fuck with these people. Like the guy Mike at the end says, "Why don't you just kill them right away? Why do you like to play with your food?" That's literally what he does. He's like, "Oh, this is a marriage that's strained and they haven't been having sex probably. So I'm going to do something that is sexually explicit to throw them off, to like, put them off balance."
Yeah.
We get all this weird shit happening, and it's not even halfway through the movie. And this is basically where I'm like, these people better leave this motherfucker's farm right now because all this creepy stuff is happening to them and they're letting it go. They're letting it slide. They're just whatever. They're having their infighting, right? And Luis is saying, this is weird. We should leave. And Ben is like, no, I don't want to be rude. And so it comes to a head where she wakes up and she finds their daughter in bed, like just asleep in bed with Patty and Kira and Aunt.
Yep.
And she's like, that's the last straw for me. We are getting the fuck out of here. And this is where I almost didn't finish this fucking movie.
Yeah, so they're getting out of there, and they realize they forgot Hoppy. So, of course, they have to turn back because that's Agnes's emotional support stuffed rabbit.
Yeah. And she starts hyperventilating. She starts crying. And they immediately revert to the shitty parents that they were this entire time. I found Ben's insistence that she needed to let go of this stuffy. I found that to be like gross and irresponsible because instead of addressing the underlying anxiety and her inability to cope with whatever was bothering her, he's harping on her interests based on her age, which is irrelevant because guess what? If it's not a stuffy, it's fucking alcohol. Like, what is wrong with you? A coping mechanism is a coping mechanism.
Yeah, he goes about it in the worst possible way. He's just like,
Right.
you're 12, time to get over this.
Exactly. Like a coping mechanism is a coping mechanism. It doesn't matter what it is. And if you tell her to get over this stuffy because she's 12, she'll just move on to something else that maybe is age appropriate but is less healthy. And I found it so irritating that neither parent was able, like the mother just enabled her, right? Here's the stuffy if it helps you feel better. And the dad was like, no, take the stuffy away. Neither of them were willing to even attempt addressing whatever the underlying problem was. And I assume that that's directly related to how they approach things in their own life. There's one part I wrote it down. Holy shit. I was so mad when she said this. I was like, that is unbelievable. She says, sometimes it's okay to think about things, but you can't actually say them. And I was like, what a terrible fucking lesson to teach your kid. You cannot speak your mind. I'm so sorry.
Speak no evil.
Yeah, maybe it's connected to the title. It was just
I mean, that is a lesson that kids need to learn, but this is not that time, and these are not the parents to be teaching that lesson because they need to learn the opposite
yeah.
lesson. So anyway, they get back, and of course, they aren't getting that rabbit and getting out. They get caught, and Patty's like, they were gonna leave without saying goodbye. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And he basically convinces them to stay
Yeah.
somehow because they can't say
Oh, yes,
no.
and that situation was so fucked up because they're like, "What did we do? What did we do?" And he says, "I think we deserve to know." And you're like, "You fucking know what you did. You are just trying to see if you can get these people to admit it to you and to say exactly the thing, like to let the awkward information out and be confrontational. You know they're not gonna be confrontational. He 100% clocks what spineless idiots they are, and he takes every opportunity to fuck with them. It's kind of crazy.
He does it again after they've found out where he's like, "But we're not gonna see each other again, are
Oh, but
we?"
that's at the end when he's like,
Yeah, but it's like it's basically the same
"Yeah,
thing where it's
tell me.
like,
Go ahead. Say
"Say
it.
it.
Say
Yeah,
you
tell
know
me.
what we're
Say
doing."
the truth."
And they don't. She lies. She's like, "Well, we're not gonna see each other again because Ben and I are getting divorced." It's just like opportunity after
Yeah,
opportunity to just be like, "Y'all are fucking weird, we're leaving."
great performance from Louise, though. She
She
sells it.
did.
Patty's just kinda like, "Okay, I know you're full of shit, but good
Yeah. I
performance."
liked that too. But here, he asks them, "What did we do?" And instead of being like, "Why did you have our kid in your bed?" Ben is like, we're just feeling like it's time, and I think that, he's stammering and giving nonsensical answers, and Louise she looks at him at this is the moment where I was like, "Okay, I'm rooting for you now. I wasn't rooting for you before, but I'm rooting for you now." Because she looks at him like, "Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about?" And is like, "Full stop. Why the fuck is our daughter in your bed?" And I loved that because that's literally what I would have done. And if my husband was like, "Well, I'm still trying to be, I don't want to like rock the boat." I would have been like, "I'm kicking this motherfucking boat over. Why is
Yeah.
my kid in your bed? In fact, I don't need to know why my kid was in your bed. We're leaving."
Yeah, Ben is one of the most infuriating characters in any movie I've ever
Yeah.
seen, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's incredible just how under my skin his
Yeah.
spinelessness got.
Yeah, no kidding. And at the very end, the best part is okay, so it gets to the point where they keep confronting them, they keep confronting them, they keep pushing the boundaries, and Ben and Louise have every opportunity to be like, "This is too much, we're gonna stop here, we're gonna stop here," and they don't because they're trying to be polite, they're trying to be polite, there's no reason for it, they're trying not to be rude.
Can we just talk about the dance scene for
Oh,
a
that was
second?
so painful, I fast forwarded it. I fast
Oh, it
forwarded it, it
was
was too
so
much. Oh my
painful.
god.
Oh my god. Yeah, so Agnes and Aunt are doing a little dance routine, and then Patty's just like, "You've got no fucking rhythm. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he's just like verbally abusing his child. And they're just like looking at each other like, "Do we say
Yeah.
something?" And I think they eventually
They do,
do.
because 'cause they're like, "Come on, he's a kid." But the best part about this scene is it shows you this man knows exactly how to play these people, and it's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
He knows exactly how they will react to everything, even when he is doing something so extreme, like clearly abusing a child in front of them, and he flips it around. Why? Because maybe 5 minutes before, Kira very politely says, "Agnes, you shouldn't chew with your mouth open." Not offensive in the slightest, but she says and maybe even she does it just to step on Louise's toes a little bit, but I did find that Louise was being unreasonable, and so Patty sort of ups the ante because she's like, "Hey, Agnes, you shouldn't chew with your mouth open." And Louise straight up says, "Don't tell my kid what to do." And I fucking hate those kind of mothers. I hate those kind of mothers because you don't realize you are not raising your little child that is going to be attached to you for the rest of your fucking life. You are raising a human being that's going out into the world, that's going to interact with other people. And as another parent, if I see your kid do something that I
Yeah.
think maybe they should be corrected on, I'm going to fucking correct them. And maybe I'll apologize to you if it offended you. But, and I probably am not going to correct someone's kid about doing something like this, but all the time I will say, hey, you're going down the slide the wrong way and you're causing a holdup. Like, could you turn around? I will correct a kid, no fucking problem, because they need to learn how to behave in the world. And so
Yeah.
for Louise to be like, don't tell my kid what to do, that rubbed me the wrong way so much, because I'm like, okay, maybe for something like this, yeah, I guess, okay. But you don't say it in front of the kid. You don't tell that kid that
Yeah. Because then you get
yes,
Cartman.
then you get Cartman. You get kids who think nobody can step to me
Mom
but
says I don't
right.
have to.
Nobody can step to me but my parents, and that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have
Yeah,
to
no
be
one
a
can tell me what to do
slave.
except my mom, who will never tell me what to
Yeah, you don't have
do.
to be a slave to authority, but at the same time, you should be respectful to people who know what they're doing, people who are in charge to a degree, people who are supposed to be looking out for you. And I just find that scene was so interesting because she was like, don't tell my kid what to do. And then Patty was like, oh, how about this? You don't tell my fucking kid what to do. You don't tell me what to do, because how is this different than what you were just doing with Kira? Now, obviously, it's different because she wasn't harming her. Agnes was not harmed in this interaction. That's the clear difference. But she's even too spineless to say the clear difference is that Agnes wasn't harmed in this interaction. And so we're preventing you from harming your kid, not just from gently correcting their eating habits. It was kind of a brilliant and hard to watch scene.
Yeah. So they find an opportunity to run off, and Aunt shows Agnes into the basement and basically shows them the scrapbook of all the couples who have been in this farm before. Patty and Kara have been inviting couples with children to their farm so they can murder the couple and cut the child's tongue out and use the children basically as bait. Aunt shows her his parents, who are now dead, and there's like all their belongings are in this little basement. And so Agnes immediately like runs and tells
Oh,
her
yeah.
mom.
And I love that scene where she's like, I need to get my parents alone. They'll know what to do. Like, since
Yeah,
when? Since
yeah, no,
when?
no, they fucking won't.
What makes you think your parents are competent?
She fakes her period to get time with their mom alone, which is showing much more resourcefulness than either of her parents already.
Right.
So
And also kind of gives you a glimpse into the source of her anxiety. If she can say, hey, I need you, and they'll be like, oh, not right now. And you're like, dude, when does your kid say, hey, I need you? Take a cue from that.
yeah. So yeah, at this point they know, and so they're gonna leave. And this is the part I mentioned earlier where Patty's like, well, why are you gonna leave? And he's like, but we're not gonna see each other. He's like, well, we'll get back together sometime. He's like, no, we won't, will we?
Yeah.
And so Louise has to say, no, we won't, because me and Ben are getting a
So we won't
divorce.
be together. And so therefore we won't see each other
Yeah.
together.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. And then they go and they see their tires are
And then
slashed.
Patty fixes their tires. I thought that was so amazing. I was like, you are a bold fucking man. You're in the lie just as much as they are. He's loving every minute of it. I thought that was so James McAvoy, I can't praise him enough for this performance.
Oh my God. Yeah, he was very believable. And this character was very
And
believable.
knowing, well, not knowing because I don't personally know him, but literally everything I've heard about James McAvoy indicates he is like one of the nicest people. So playing this role in this most convincing way was so impressive to me.
The character he's most like is Tumnus from
Oh,
The
yes.
Lion, the Witch, and
Yes.
the
He is
Wardrobe.
Mr. Tumnus. He's 100% Mr. Tumnus. But yeah, he finally is like, "All right, you guys are leaving. We've come to a standoff and I'm just going to let you go." So they get in the car and they're like, "Let's just drive. Let's just go. Don't look back." And what happens? They see him in the rear view mirror push Ant into the water.
And it's established earlier that he can't swim, so he's
That he can't
immediately
swim, right?
drowning.
And that's his ace in the hole, right? That's his
Yeah.
you will not put your family first, ever. And you especially won't put your family first if you think you could play the hero and save this kid who you know pretty much nothing about. But I just thought that was like his laying down his final hand to be like, all right, all bets are off. I'm pushing this kid in the water. Like, there's no more pretense. You can't come back and pretend that, we're all happy and friends. There's no reasonable explanation for this. All bets are off. Kids in the water. And then when
Yeah.
Ben rescues Ant and gets out of the pond, he resurfaces to find that Louise and Agnes are being held at gunpoint. They take them into like the kitchen or something, and they're trying to get Louise to wire all of their money and assets to some other bank account. And so she's doing that, and they're all being held at gunpoint. And I'm really not sure what leads to it, but at some point she had pocketed a box cutter, and she just turns around and attacks him. And then all bets are off, and they all start running after each other and fighting and stuff. And I think that this is probably the part of the movie that redeemed it the most for me, because Louise really stepped up. And somebody recently called me bossy, no names, but I thought at the beginning of this movie, is this the kind of person that person would prefer me to be like? To not be bossy, to be like Louise, just kind of saying okay at every turn. Because I would much prefer to be the Louise that has a box cutter and just fucking slashes faces. I would much prefer to be that than to be a pushover and have people taking my kid into their bed at 12 years old and whatever. It was crazy. But yeah, okay, so this all unravels, and they end up killing Patty and Mike and Kara.
Well, yeah. Patty shows up with a gun to Agnes's head, and she had a syringe of what, ketamine
Yeah,
from
that he had
earlier
pulled.
that she like swiped that they were gonna use to sedate
Yeah.
them. So she injects Patty with it, and then Ant comes, grabs a big rock, and Patty's like, "That's me, boy." And then Ant just smashes the shit out of Patty's
James
head.
McAvoy and Pat, like this character, that is him being toxic to the end, because he clearly is still goading Ben at the very end when he is incapacitated and Ben has a gun to his face. And this standoff is basically, you won't kill me. I know you won't kill me. And then Ant comes up and he's like, oh, bitch, but I will kill you. But then Ant comes up and he's like, that's my boy. You're the one. You are a man. I mean, that was clearly what he was getting at. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
expect this guy to do it, but I know you can do it because, but I mean, he says it, he's patronizing when he says it. Like, that's my boy. Obviously, you're not my son. I know you're not my son. I killed your parents. But it was more like I approve of you doing this because this is the kind of masculinity that I endorse. And don't be like Ben. Be like me. The kid is now a murderer. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's traumatized. And I honestly, I have to say, I hate that she gives him her stuffy. I really do. I thought that was so fucking tone deaf. Uh, I also hate that she hung on to that stupid ass rabbit until the very end. Oh, but I guess it was in the car. But I hated that she gives him that stuffy, because it ends on this message of like, you're still a kid. And I'm like, yeah, I get you're still a kid. But that stuffy symbolized all the wrong things in this movie and symbolized all the wrong things for you. And I wanted it to go away. I wanted it to be like, this was like oh, I don't need it anymore. And this is the thing that took me through the anxiety I had. And now I don't have it anymore. And so here's me giving it up, instead of focusing on the kid who's actually traumatized. I don't know. I didn't like that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I thought it was really dumb.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah,
crazy. And
that's the end.
that's the end. So I had all kinds of feelings about it. I think talking about it now with you, has definitely made it a little bit more palatable. Um, I gave it a 1 originally. Maybe I'll bump it up to a 2. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking 3.
Okay.
I thought it was extremely effective in making me feel things they clearly intended for me to feel. The performances, especially James McAvoy, were incredible. I wouldn't say I hated watching this, but it was very uncomfortable, and I'm not looking to at least watch this version again anytime soon.
So you give it a 3, I give it a 2. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so our final movie that we did this week is Villains from 2019, and that's about a pair of amateur criminals who attempt to break into a house when their car breaks down. They soon realize they are in over their heads when they discover that the homeowners are harboring a dark secret. And this film stars Micah Monroe and Bill Skarsgård, which immediately I was very excited about. I didn't know anything about it going in, and I also saw Kira Sedgwick and Jeffrey Donovan on there as well. Right off the bat, Jeffrey Donovan has always felt to me like Kevin Durant's cousin's doppelganger. I mean, honestly, I've known him in like Burn Notice and a couple of other shows, but I haven't seen him do anything else. But just immediately would love to kind of give him a shout out because I thought he was fucking fantastic.
So Micah Monroe plays Jules, and her boyfriend Mickey is Bill Skarsgård. They're robbing a convenience store, and I love their masks. So Jules has got a unicorn mask on, and Mickey's got a
Yeah. It
pigeon
is
mask.
the clumsiest,
Classic.
most awkward robbery. Obviously meant to give you set an atmosphere of, like, comedy, but maybe foreboding comedy because you know something's gonna go wrong at some point. The whole scene is just very funny, and it's also interesting because it sets them up as these 2 people who genuinely love each other, and it makes the entire thing very endearing almost.
Yeah.
And things just go wrong, like, one thing after another. Like, these 2 are clearly being cast as these incompetent would-be criminals, but they're also cute and charming. So, it was kind of interesting, and right away, I thought the only problem I have with the opening scene and the introduction to our criminals to begin with is that they're both just way too high functioning to be playing people this stupid. And you could sort of tell.
Yeah, there's a
You
bit
could
of
sort of tell,
that.
like, Micah Monroe, you are too smart to be playing somebody this ditzy, and unfortunately, I can see it. It actually reminded me of something I did in high school. I was in an acting class, and my acting teacher, basically pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, I have a person who is filming" those, like, informational videos that have to do with, like, peer pressure and, like, saying no to drugs and stuff like that, and she was like, "Hey, I know somebody who has a script for this kinda thing, and we're just looking for two people," and she picked me and some other kid from my class, and they filmed this whole thing, and it was like a sister and a brother, and it was basically about a friend was, like, trying to convince the brother to, like, smoke pot or something, and then the sister was like, "I don't think that's a good idea, and here's why." It was something very, like, after school programmy. And so we did this film, and actually, this is a story I don't think I've ever told you or your brother. We did this whole thing. It maybe took an hour, during, like, a lunch period, and several months go by, and the person doesn't get back to me. My teacher never responds, never follows up with me. And one day, I randomly just said, "Hey, whatever happened to that thing that I filmed?" And she says, "Oh, honestly, they decided to go with someone else because you guys did a very good job, but they didn't believe that you were that impressionable." They said that you came across as being too intelligent on the screen, and so they couldn't really sell that you would fall for something like that. So that's what that reminds me of. Like, I felt like Micah Monroe, Bill Skarsgård, you were both very high functioning people, and these guys are, like, straight morons. So that was
Yeah.
my first thought, and that story just popped into my head after all these years, and I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot that I did something kind of weirdly like this when I was a kid, but anyhow.
So when we reviewed Abigail, you said you wanted to see Catherine Newton take on like a Micah
Yeah.
Monroe trajectory. And I feel like this is Micah Monroe's most Catherine Newton
Oh,
role.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because I was like, "This is what I want you to do, Catherine Newton. Take a cue from this. This is where you started, and you need to end at Significant Other." And actually, when I was looking up this movie, the person who directed this also directed Significant Other and a new movie called Novocaine that I believe Mike and Moreau is also in.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
so
want
that's
to see
gonna be
that.
on our to-do list because the same director for this and Significant Other, and then there's a new movie, I'm very excited.
Yeah, so this is written and directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson. They're screenwriting partners. So they both of them wrote and directed this and Significant Other, and I think
Okay.
also Novocaine. So yeah, I would say I'm a fan of
I am
them.
too, I am too. Obviously, it's pretty transparent that the movie's called Villains, and the big question is who are the real villains, right? And you're like, "Okay, it's clearly not these 2. They're obviously breaking the law, but does that make them villains? Probably not."
Yeah, they're more like really more like goons than
Yeah,
villains.
so they rob this store and make their getaway.
Yeah, and it was a gas station they just robbed. And of course, they forgot to fill up while they were there, so they run out of gas in the middle of nowhere.
And also right away, they kind of let you know that Mickey maybe has a little bit of anxiety or maybe has a little bit of something going on where he gets overwhelmed. And they each have it in a different way. Jules seems to be more in control of hers and she kind of helps Mickey manage it.
Yep.
And that's a really nice character development in the first, like, 10 minutes of the movie. You get so much of both of these characters in such a short period of time, and it's more than them just being bumbling idiots, right? There's a lot that you can extrapolate from this first scene. But, yeah, they promptly run out of gas, and, they freak out and eventually realize, "Oh, we're right in front of somebody's house. Let's go explore." They break into this house that is seemingly abandoned. They look around. There's a really great shot of a bird's eye view of the stove burner and a cereal bowl, and Jules pours herself a bowl of cereal. She spills 1 shredded wheat and doesn't pick it up, pours her milk, and then removes the bowl from the shot. And so then you have a shot of a stove burner, a clean counter, and 1 shredded wheat. And what I got from that is they are so just thoughtless. They're not cleaning up after themselves. They're touching stuff with their bare hands. They're getting their DNA, their fingerprints, like, everywhere. Yeah, so they continue to search through the house.
Yeah, that leads them into the basement. And in the basement is a dirty, chained up little girl who is apparently mute.
Right. And there's the first elements of actual horror that we get in this movie because they look around the basement and Jules comes riding a little teeny tiny kid's tricycle and she's like, "Oh, didn't find anything, but I did find this little bike." And Mickey's like, "It's not time for you to play with toys." And he shines his camera onto the kid in the corner and it's so fucking scary.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
it's such a
yep.
contrast from the rest of what we've seen so far, and it's the first, like, real horror element of the movie, and you're like, "Okay, shit's starting to get real now." And, of course, they feel it too. They are both like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on now?" And it goes from this weird little bumbling idiots trying to get away with a crime kinda movie to what the hell did we just step into? And immediately, Mickey is like, "Let's peace the fuck out." And Jules is like, "No, no, we have to help her." But she's chained up like an iron ankle chain, right? And one of the things that was established is that Mickey is very good at picking locks. And so she's like, immediately, "You gotta pick that lock and free her." And he's like, "That's not a lock I can pick. So we really need to fucking leave." So they go upstairs and start looking for ways to unlock the thing around her ankle.
And then George and Gloria show up. And these are the homeowners.
And they
And
look
they're, for some reason, straight out of the
And they
1950s.
both come across as very uptight parental types, put
Yeah.
together, homeowners, job, like gainfully employed. They come across as the exact complete opposite of Jules and Nikki, right? Who are robbing gas stations, unemployed, swearing, doing drugs, like the whole 9 yards of the diametric opposite, right? And
Yep.
also, let's not forget, Gloria is holding a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, she's holding a baby.
And so immediately, Mickey's still got a gun.
Yeah, and they're like, "You can take whatever you want, just no, no problem." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't want your money. We wanna know why the fuck there's a little girl chained up in your
Yeah.
basement."
And they're like, "Oh shit, you found our secret." But it's weird because they're not immediately panicking. They're just sort of like, "Ah, damn." And it turns into maybe the next like 15 to 20 minutes of the movie was probably the least engaging for me because it's basically, I'm going to read you guys and you're in a whole lot of trouble and this is not your problem. So you should leave. Slash, I'm going to read you guys and I don't really care what you think. We're taking that kid because you shouldn't have her locked up in your basement. And to be clear, the kid's probably 9 or 10 years old, right? So she's pretty young. And
Yeah.
and it's just this kind of weird back and forth almost. We're at a standstill who's really in charge here. And I don't know, that for me, I was like, this is a lot of mind games that I could do without.
Okay.
So I also made a note that we had a bunch of goofy music, which I didn't really care for. Then we have our goofy bad people protagonists who are not bad, but they're just into the super crack and making poor life choices. So I thought that that was a very funny thing. But yeah, then we have this whole "you can't judge us. We're judging you. No, you can't judge us. We're judging you. Who's really the bad guy here?" moment. And it just, that was a little bit beaten over our head. I think for me, it was just the tension. And I wrote, can we just move on from the tension? I don't really want to sit through this tension. When you know something is going to happen, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean,
And
it's
what
kind of the point
happens,
though, right?
I know, and maybe that's a me problem. But so then we get to like I think the biggest fuck up in the whole movie, which is nobody's fault at the end of the day, right? It's nobody's fault, but it's the thing that changes the entire course of the movie. They get down to the basement. George finally agrees. Fine, you want her, take her. They get down to the basement. He unchains the girl, and Mickey's like, "Okay, we've freed you now. Come with us. We're gonna take you away." And she fucking bites him.
Yep.
And that changed the entire course of the movie.
Yep. Well, now that the tables have instantly turned, since George and Gloria have the upper hand, they restrain them, and this is when Mickey gets chained to the bed upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And Gloria is basically like trying to do a burlesque dance for him and turn him on.
And Kira Sedgwick does the funniest fucking things. That scene was so funny. But yeah, I wrote Kira Sedgwick was fucking hilarious. And I couldn't stop laughing when she like insisted on him calling her mommy. It was so fucked up and funny. And I don't know, it's just funny. And he's like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And then the best part is that you expect that maybe he's weird and maybe he's just a guy who's just going to be, he'll fall for it because he'll fall for it. And then he does it. And she's like, "Oh, great. So you don't like me." And she's like totally offended and leaves. Ugh.
Yeah,
Anyway, what a crazy, crazy scene. And maybe I was laughing from the awkwardness of it. I have to admit that.
I mean, that was pretty awkward.
So awkward. Oh my God. Okay. So then at the same time, he is upstairs in the room with Gloria. Jules is downstairs tied up in the basement. She's talking to the little girl and she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? We were trying to help you." And of course, the girl doesn't respond. So instead, she connects with her by telling her something about herself. And that gives a little bit more background to the character and gives a little bit more depth to the story, which I thought was nice because it didn't do anything for me because I didn't think it added anything that I couldn't have surmised about this character. She seemed like that she had a troubled childhood. She just seemed like, I don't know, Micah Monroe already brought the depth to the character. I didn't even know she needed to say all of this. But it was necessary for her to kind of create that, or at least start to create this bond with this little girl. So I thought it was
Yeah.
a really good scene. So then George is he doesn't come downstairs quite yet, but what happens is Gloria decides, okay, well, he doesn't want to have sex with me, so I'll just show him old pictures of myself. And then he realizes, okay, if I'm going to get out of here, I should probably take advantage of this.
Yeah.
And then he kind of gives in to what she wants, which is obviously, you know what? I mean, I don't even know what she wanted. She was cuckoo bananas. She wanted a kid, but she wanted to have sex with her kid. It was just fucking insane.
Yeah, so he, like, basically convinces her, he's like, "No, no, do it again, I'll be turned on this time."
Yeah, yeah.
Which is really funny, and she doesn't really buy it, he has to do some convincing, but eventually he does convince
He
her.
basically forces himself to be aroused, which convinces Gloria in turn that, okay, it's on. Let's uncuff him.
Yeah, so she uncuffs him, and he just pushes her and runs out the door, and then George is out there, and George shoots him in the leg.
And it's so funny because he's like, "Well, you're a little too spry for my liking." And he just shoots
Oh,
him.
yeah, that
And
was a great
they're
line.
casually just chatting because he's like, "Okay, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but, like, you know what she just tried to do to me." And she's in there wailing in, like, the funniest way. She's like, "I can't believe you would hit a woman. I can't believe you would treat me like this." It was just so funny. And yeah, and then George is like, "God damn it. All you had to do was fucking inseminate her. Couldn't you just do that?" Oh, it was really funny. And then he's like, "All right, well, fine. If you're not gonna play ball, then you're going down in the basement too." They chain him up to the basement with Jules, and the two of them immediately begin just yelling at this kid, which I have to say was so satisfying for me. It makes me a terrible person. I really just don't fucking care at this point because I was so mad when that girl bit him, and I get it. Like, I understand why it happened from her perspective, but it was just such a frustrating plot point. But boy, was it satisfying when they start fucking yelling at her and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? We were here to rescue you, you fucking
Yeah.
idiot." And she doesn't respond. And that is so accurate. There is nothing more frustrating when a kid pisses you off and you want them to explain themselves and they don't fucking explain themselves. They just sit there, they stare at you, their dumb kid eyes. So then they decide, okay, how are we gonna free ourselves? And oh my God.
Yeah. So they get the idea because Jules has a tongue ring, they can use that to pick the handcuffs. And she's like, "Yeah, but it's in my tongue." And he's like, "Well, what if you just like, like pulled at it with your teeth and might just pop out?" And just like, "It's not gonna pop out." So then they settle on him grabbing it with his teeth and yanking it out of her mouth.
It was, oh my God. Even the kid makes a face at
Oh yeah,
this.
you get a shot of a kid cringing.
Yeah, even the kid is like, "Oh God, what are you guys doing?" And maybe that's the moment where she's like, "Oh shit, they really were trying to help me." He frees Jules, and then when she tries to free him, it breaks. So she's not able to free him. And then the kid is like, "All right, now I'll help you out." And she points out that there's a laundry chute in the room, which Jules then climbs up and finds herself in the baby's room.
Yeah, the baby.
Yeah, so Jules goes up into the baby's room. She sees Gloria cooing over the crib. And then when she goes over to look out the window, she happens to notice the baby's not a baby, the baby's a doll. At this point, she's trying to get away, figuring out what to do. George goes into the basement and is like, "Oh shit, where did she go?"
Yep.
And is essentially threatening Mickey because he's, concerned that Jules has escaped. And he's like, "Oh, hey, she went to the police, by the way, and I'm supposed to meet her, or she escaped and I'm supposed to meet her, and if I don't meet her, she's gonna go to the police." And that is the thing that convinces George to let Mickey go.
And I gotta give Mickey some credit.
Really
There are
good.
a couple of airheads, but that was real clever.
Yeah, very clever. Yeah, so George
So
decides, "All right, I
George
have no
buys it.
choice." Yeah, I have no choice, I have to let her go. But I guess the conversation they have, this is like another goofy, like,
Yeah.
incompetent plot point where he's like, "I'm sorry it had to end this way," and I guess Jules overhears him say
Yeah.
that.
It's very silly.
Very silly. So, yeah, he's like, I'm sorry it had to end this way." Of course, Jules overhears that and is thinking that Mickey's about to be executed or something, And
Yeah.
she storms out of the room holding this porcelain doll, threatening to drop it over the banister. And Gloria has a meltdown and is like, don't you fucking dare. She grabs the gun, shoots at Jules, who then proceeds to drop the doll. The doll falls onto the ground and just gets smashed. And we have this really awful shot of her picking up the ceramic pieces and having her hands get all bloodied. And I thought at that moment, this movie's really, one of the things that's really effective is reminding you that it's horror, reminding you that this isn't supposed to be funny. Every now and
Yeah.
then, it just inserts something that's really disturbing that kind of just brings you back to these people aren't supposed to be jokes. They're supposed to be really tormenting this little girl and in turn, our bad guy protagonists.
Yep.
So I thought that was really, really well done. And I was very impressed and very taken aback when I saw that shot of Gloria picking up the ceramic and her hands getting all bloodied. And it's good, like, insight into her psyche because you're like, oh God, you're real far
Yeah.
gone, lady.
She's a mess.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's the last straw for them. They're pissed and they're like, fuck you guys. So they duct tape them to the kitchen table and they proceed to feed them a drugged meal. So they drug them and they're like, yeah, you think we were going to let you go? God, you're dumb. And she's like, well, what's going to happen to the little girl? And they're like, meh, we'll just leave her here. Social services will come collect her. Anyhow, so they're drugged. They're kind of like dozing off. And a cop shows up, knocks at the door and is like, hey, I'm investigating that robbery that occurred down the street. Have you seen anything considering that abandoned car? It was like pretty close to your house. And George answers the door and does his very worst to convince this cop that everything is okay. He is as sketchy and as suspicious as he could possibly be. And to this cop's credit, he catches on to that and is like, okay, guy, you need to let me in. I need to look around for a minute. And with lightning speed, Gloria scoops up these two bodies, do not know how she does this, and brings them upstairs back into the baby's room and drops them on the floor. And we'll just have to suspend our disbelief that this little lady was able to do that.
Yeah. I'm a little confused about what happens next. So Jules reverses her heroin overdose by doing cocaine?
So I think the idea is what she did was counteract the downer with an upper. That's the best I
I don't
can.
think that's how that works.
Right, but that's the best explanation I can get from this scene is that in her mind, and this could be just like idiot drug user mentality, right? And then maybe that was the point of it, that it was so stupid that, of course, an idiot drug user is going to be like, here's what I should do. Because remember every time every time they did coke, she was like, I need a boost. And then they would get these like brilliant ideas, which is very stereotypical drug user philosophy that using drugs elevates you and gives you all your best thoughts and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought that was. I thought that was just supposed to be, they gave us a whole bunch of downers, which means we need to take a whole bunch of uppers and then we'll be good again. It's very dumb.
The logic for a drug addict, sure, but it works for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was just supposed to work because part of this movie was, from their perspective, I guess. I don't know.
All right, so yeah. Anyway, for some reason that works, and what they just this is when they just grab Sweetie Pie and go to steal the car, right?
Right. They go back downstairs, and at this point, she trusts them, and so they unlock her and they unchain her and they throw her in the car. A garage door opens, and George is standing in front of them with a gun.
And so Mickey runs him down, but at the same time, George unloads the gun into the car, and Mickey takes one in the chest.
Yeah.
Or
Really,
multiple, maybe?
a couple.
It might have been several in the chest.
Yeah.
You know he's dead. Like,
He's dead.
instantly you
It's
see.
so sad. They have their moment and he's dead. They get out of the car and realize that George is not dead.
But he is fucked up.
But oh my
His
God,
face is all fucked up.
this is the part where I was like, we're back to horror because
Yeah.
Jeffrey Donovan was in top form in this movie. And especially in this scene where he is like, I don't know. He's a monster, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you. I can't believe you did this to me. And they struggle, and the gun goes flying somewhere, and Sweetie Pie picks it up. And then his demeanor switches, and he's like, exactly kind of what Patty did, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because I think it was more in this situation, you're my kid, you're my little baby, you're not gonna shoot me. Whereas in the other
Yeah.
movie, it was
Yeah, it's the
like,
opposite of what Patty did.
yeah. In the other movie, it was like, "You're not my kid, but I have hardened you, and you have it in you to finish me off like you should." I think it was an interesting juxtaposition having just watched Speak No Evil.
Yeah.
And, yeah, she blows his head off, and it's kinda crazy because
Yep.
the shot the bullet goes through his eye, and the shot is, like, shown through the empty eye socket, which I thought was
Yep.
very effective and very, like, well done. And then she takes the girl. Oh, and of course, Gloria comes out and is being a crazy lady.
Yeah, Gloria comes out and acts like, he's not dead.
Yeah. Proceeds to have her mental breakdown,
And Jules and Sweetie Pie take off to Florida.
and then the next shot is, like, the same kind of footage from the beginning, but of the 2 of them enjoying themselves in Florida.
Yep.
Do not know how they got there, besides the brief moment of hitchhiking, but I mean, more don't know how they established themselves because I guess she took the money from their car? I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, they had no money, and is that sort of suggested you guys could have just gone to Florida. You didn't need to do any of this, which is just kinda wild. Okay, so you've seen this before. What are your overall impressions?
This movie is really stupid and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I thought you I think you needed morons to play these roles.
Yeah, I can see that. There is like a bit of dissonance between these actors and these airheads.
Yeah. Like, this could have been like a no offense to that dude, but I can't remember his name. He's got 3 names. Sean something something. The guy from American
I was
Pie.
gonna say Stifler or whatever.
Yes, like, this could have been, like, a Stifler role or something, like, maybe not that goofy, but this needed, like, morons to play these roles, not intelligent actors pretending to be morons, because you could sort of see the entire time that they were pretending to be morons. I think that was very prominent for Micah Monroe, and I thought as the movie went on, I kinda sunk into, "Okay, Mickey's kind of stupid." But at the beginning, I was like, neither of these people are really stupid, so this is a little bit hard to swallow. I don't know. That was the only thing I thought, uh, could have been different. But I do like this movie a lot, and I would recommend it to other people to watch. I thought it was really good. And I think, yeah, I'm a fan of these directors. I think it was a really good choice. I'm happy we did this. Okay, so anything else? Do you have any issues with it?
Um, I don't know. The issues I have with it are just that there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, but it's just like whatever. It's kind of part of the movie that it's all kind of stupid and goofy. Like you can't really separate it, so I can't really nitpick it too much.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any issues that I don't really have any hang-ups, I'd say.
Okay. I have to say the only thing that I hated is the very end when the little girl turns to Jules and says, "I wanna go with you," which simultaneously reveals that she knew what was going on this whole time and that she could speak. And in light of that, knowing what has happened, all because she fucking bit him, she never says sorry, which I think is really fucked up. And I get it, like, she's traumatized, but I still think a kid that age could realize that, "Uh-oh, I did this." And I find it a little bit annoying that she just kind of I get it. She's a victim, and
Yeah.
there's no blame you can really put on her, and the only thing that she's owed is her freedom and her chance to be a child. But at the same time, I'm a big believer that children are going to be adults one day. They're going to be members of the society, and there should be a little bit of a sense that if something happened that was bad and it's because of something that I did, then I should feel some sense of attrition. And it wasn't there. And I guess maybe that's not the point of this movie, but I would have felt a lot better if that kid, at the moment she said, I want to go with you, she said, also, I'm sorry he's dead. Because she also sees Jules in her moment of grief. She sees her go into the car and like embrace his body and say goodbye and tell him she loves him. And maybe the kid is emotionally stunted because of all of the things that have happened. But I just feel like if she's present enough to say, I want to go with you, then she's present enough to say, and also I'm sorry he's dead. And I think that was my only issue. Anyhow, I am going to give this 4 stars. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think I'd give it 4.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm curious about what other people thought. But okay, so next week, what are we getting into?
All right, we'll be doing Frankenhooker from 1990. I Saw the TV Glow from 2024, and Beyond the Black Rainbow from 2010.
All right. Here's to having more theme weeks. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what our overlaps will be next week. All right. Until next time.
Till next time.
Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.